Park Jun yawned and stretched in his chair. The night shift at the Galactic Council Communications Outpost was always quiet. Too quiet. He had been working here for 3 years, and nothing exciting ever happened. The outpost floated in space near the Andromeda Belt, a ring of asteroids that marked the border between the Council's territory and the outer systems. His job was simple: listen for signals, record them, and pass them to his superiors. Park checked the time. 4 more hours until his shift ended. He sipped his cold coffee and adjusted his headset. Then he heard it, a broken voice, filled with fear. "This is Colony Proxima IV. We are under attack. Please help us. The Vex ships came without warning. They're bombing our cities." Park sat up straight. His heart began to race. He checked the signal strength and origin. It was real. A real distress call from a real colony. "This is Galactic Council Outpost 47, Park replied. "I hear you, Proxima IV. What is your situation?" "Thank the stars," the voice cried. "The Vex Dominion attacked us 3 days ago. They destroyed our defense systems first. Now they're landing troops. They're killing everyone who fights back. Please, we need help now." Park typed quickly, sending an urgent message to his supervisor. Within minutes, the outpost was buzzing with activity. Senior officers rushed in, taking over the communication. Park stood back, watching as Commander Ryu, the outpost leader, spoke to the colony. "Proxima IV, we have received your distress call. The Council will discuss your situation immediately." 6 hours later, Park sat in the back of the meeting room. The Council representatives on the outpost argued back and forth on a video call with the main council. "The Vex Dominion has grown too powerful," said one official. "They've taken 3 worlds in the past year." "But we cannot risk open war," argued another. "The Vex have the largest fleet in this sector." "What about the colony? There are 10,000 people on Proxima IV." Commander Ryu finally stood up. "The Council has made its decision. We will send a diplomatic message to the Vex Dominion, asking them to stop their attack." A message. Park couldn't stop himself from speaking out. "Those people will die before the Vex even answer." The room went silent. Commander Ryu looked at Park coldly. "Officer Park, you forget your place. The Council has decided that direct military action is too risky. The Vex might attack Council worlds next if we challenge them." Park left the meeting, his hands shaking with anger. He returned to his post, where the signals from Proxima IV were growing weaker. The colony was dying. As the night shift began again, Park found himself alone in the communications room. The distress calls still came, but less frequently now. The voices sounded more desperate. Park thought about the stories his grandfather had told him. Stories about the humans of Earth, who had once been the strongest power in the galaxy. 200 years ago, after the terrible First Contact War, the humans had sealed their borders and disappeared from galactic politics. No one had heard from Earth since then. Some thought the humans had destroyed themselves. Others believed they were waiting, building their strength. Park made his decision. He adjusted the outpost's main communication dish, aiming it toward the restricted zone that everyone avoided, Earth's solar system. He recorded a message, attaching all the distress calls from Proxima IV. "To any human authorities receiving this signal, a peaceful colony is being destroyed by the Vex Dominion. The Galactic Council refuses to help. If you still exist, if you still remember being part of this galaxy, please help them." Park sent the message, knowing it might cost him his job, or worse. Then he erased all evidence of the transmission from the system logs. He sat back in his chair, staring at the stars through the viewport. The message would take hours to reach Earth's solar system. Even then, there might be no one listening. The humans might be gone, or they might not care about the galaxy anymore. But it was the only hope Proxima IV had left. Kim Dai sat in the dark control room deep beneath Earth's surface. Screens covered the walls, showing views of space around Earth. For 20 years, he had worked as security director, watching for any threat to humanity's home. No alien ship had entered Earth's space in 200 years, not since the terrible First Contact War, when humanity learned how cruel the galaxy could be. A light flashed on Kim's console, an incoming transmission from outside the solar system. This almost never happened. "Sir," called one of the operators, "we're receiving a message from the Andromeda Belt sector." Kim frowned. "Play it." The room filled with the desperate voice from Proxima IV, followed by the message from Park June. Kim listened carefully, his face growing serious. "Verify this," he ordered. "Check if it matches known Galactic Council communication patterns." Within minutes, the verification was complete. The message was real. "Send this to Admiral Lee Sung immediately," Kim said. 2 hours later, Kim stood in the great meeting hall of Earth's High Command. The room was carved from the rock of a mountain. Safe from any attack from space, 20 men and women sat around a large table, the leaders of humanity's military and government. Admiral Lee Sung, head of the High Command, played the message for everyone to hear. After 200 years of silence, he said when the message ended, "The galaxy calls for our help." General Park Min shook her head. "We sealed our borders for good reasons. The aliens tried to destroy us once. We swore never to trust them again." "These are not the same aliens who attacked us," argued Colonel Eugene. "This is a colony being destroyed by aggressors, just like we once were." Admiral Lee looked at the large map of the galaxy on the wall. Earth was shown as a bright point of light, surrounded by a red zone that marked humanity's protected space. "For 200 years, we have built our strength," he said. "We have created weapons and ships that the galaxy has never seen. We have prepared for the day when we might need to defend ourselves again." He turned to face the others. "But what good is all this power if we don't use it to help those in need? What did we really learn from the First Contact War?" The room fell silent. Everyone knew the history. Humanity had been young and trusting when they first met alien life. They had been betrayed, attacked, nearly destroyed. In the end, they had won, but the cost had been terrible. "I propose Operation Avalanche," Admiral Lee said. "We will send the First Fleet to Proxima IV. We will save the colony and show the Vex Dominion that their aggression will not stand." The vote was not unanimous, but the majority agreed. After the meeting, Admiral Lee and Kim Da walked to the command center together. "Prepare the fleet," Admiral Lee ordered. "Priority message to Captain Han Ji of the UES Thunderchild. His ship will lead the mission." Kim looked worried. "Sir, the galaxy has changed in 200 years. We don't know what other powers have risen." Admiral Lee nodded. "That's true. But from this message, it seems some things never change. The strong still prey on the weak." He looked at the giant screen showing Earth's orbital defenses and the massive fleet that had been built in secret. "But they have forgotten about us, Kim. They have forgotten what humans can do when pushed too far. The Vex Dominion is about to learn what happens when you wake a sleeping giant." Deep within Earth's moon, in hangars hidden from the galaxy's eyes, lights began to come on. Engines that had been quiet for years hummed to life. Soldiers and crew who had trained their whole lives for a day they thought might never come rushed to their stations. The UES Thunderchild, the most powerful warship ever built by human hands, prepared to leave its dock. Captain Han Ji stood on the bridge, reading his orders with a face that showed no emotion. "Set course for Proxima IV," he told his crew. "Humanity is returning to the stars." The sleeping war machine had awakened. Yoon Min had never seen the moon hangars open before. No one had, not in her lifetime. She stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, watching the massive doors slowly part. Light from inside the hangar spilled out into space for the first time in 2 centuries. As a tactical officer, Yoon knew the power of the ship she served on. The Thunderchild was over 1 mile long, built with technology that had been improved and perfected for generations. But knowing was different from seeing it in action. "All systems ready, Captain," she reported to Captain Han Ji. The captain nodded. He was older than Yoon by 20 years. His face showed no excitement, only focus. "Begin launch sequence," he ordered. The ship hummed as its engines powered up. On screens around the bridge, Yoon could see the rest of the First Fleet preparing to launch from other hangars across the moon. 50 warships, each powerful enough to face an entire alien fleet. "Sir," Yoon said quietly, "is it true that some of the older officers actually remember the First Contact War?" Captain Han looked at her. "Not remember it directly. But Colonel Jang over on the Valiant. His grandfather fought in it. The stories have been passed down." Yoon felt a chill. The First Contact War was history to her, something she had studied. But to some, it was family memory. "The Thunderchild is clear of the hangar," announced the pilot. Yoon looked at the main screen. Earth hung in space before them, beautiful and blue. For centuries, humanity had hidden behind its powerful shields, building and preparing. Now they were leaving that safety. "First Fleet reports ready, Captain," said the communications officer. Captain Han stood up. "Send to all ships. Operation Avalanche is now active. Jump coordinates are set for Proxima IV. We will arrive in formation, assess the situation, and engage the enemy as necessary. Our primary mission is to save the colony." He paused, then added, "This is the day we have trained for. Today, humanity returns to the stars." Yoon felt her heart beat faster. This was history happening. "Jump drives charging," reported the engineering officer. Yoon turned to her tactical station. The jump technology was humanity's greatest advantage. In the centuries since they had left galactic affairs, humans had developed the ability to travel vast distances instantly. The current galactic powers had nothing like it. "Jump drives at full power," engineering called. Captain Han looked around the bridge one last time. "Begin jump countdown." Yoon watched the numbers on her screen count down from 10. Around the ship, 50 others were doing the same. 3, 2, 1, jump. Space bent around them. Yoon felt the strange feeling of her body being stretched and compressed at the same time. It lasted only a second. Then the stars changed. The fleet had arrived at Proxima IV, a journey that should have taken weeks completed in an instant. "Status report," Captain Han ordered. "All ships present and accounted for," Yoon reported, checking her screens. "Formation is perfect." "Scan the system," the captain ordered. Yoon's hands moved quickly over her console, detecting multiple ships in orbit around the fourth planet. Design matches known Vex Dominion patterns. They are firing on the planet's surface. She paused. "Sir, I'm detecting heavy damage to the colony. Many buildings destroyed." Captain Han's face hardened. "Life signs. Still detecting approximately 7,000 colonists." Yoon felt relief. "They're still alive, but readings suggest they won't last much longer under this bombardment." The captain turned to the weapons officer. "Lock weapons on the Vex ships. Prioritize those currently firing on the surface." Then he spoke to the communications officer. "Open a channel to all Vex ships." The officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Captain Han stood tall. "This is Captain Han Ji of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. You are attacking innocent colonists. Cease fire immediately and withdraw from this system." For a moment, there was silence. Then a confused voice replied. "Unknown vessel, this is Commander Krell of the Vex Dominion. You have entered Vex space without permission. Identify your species and affiliation." Captain Han smiled slightly. "We are humans from Earth, and we have returned." The bridge fell silent. Yoon watched her tactical display as the Vex ships stopped firing on the planet. They were turning, redirecting their weapons toward the human fleet. "They're targeting us," she reported. Captain Han nodded. "As expected, all ships prepare to engage. Operation Avalanche has begun." Humanity's war machine was about to show the galaxy what 200 years of preparation looked like. Commander Choi Eun checked her team's gear one last time. Her strike team of 20 soldiers stood ready in the Thunderchild's launch bay. They wore advanced battle armor that no one outside Earth had seen before. "Remember your training," she told them. "Our job is to reach the main colony center and evacuate survivors." The ship shook slightly. Above them, the battle had begun. On the bridge, Captain Han watched as the Vex ships fired their weapons. The energy beams headed straight for the human fleet. "Shields holding at full strength," reported Yun Min. "The Vex weapons are not powerful enough to cause damage." Captain Han nodded. "Return fire. Target their weapon systems only." The Thunderchild fired. Beams of blue light shot out, hitting 5 Vex ships at once. Their weapon systems exploded instantly. "Sir," Yun said, surprised. "The Vex shields failed immediately. Our weapons cut through them like they weren't even there." Around them, the rest of the human fleet was firing. Within minutes, every Vex ship had lost its weapons. "They're retreating," Yun announced. "All Vex ships are jumping away." Captain Han turned to his communications officer. "Contact Commander Choi. Tell her she's clear to launch." Down in the launch bay, Choi received the message. "We're up," she called to her team. "Get to the shuttles." 3 shuttles launched from the Thunderchild, racing toward the planet's surface. As they entered the atmosphere, Choi could see the damage below. Many buildings were destroyed. Fires burned across the colony. The shuttles landed in what had once been the colony's main square. Choi was the first one out, her weapon ready. "Spread out," she ordered. "Look for survivors." Her team moved through the damaged streets. Soon, they found people hiding in the basement of a half-destroyed building. "We're from Earth," Choi told the frightened colonists. "We're here to help you." An older man stepped forward. His clothes marked him as someone important. "Earth?" he asked, his voice shaking. "But Earth closed its borders 200 years ago. We thought humans had abandoned the galaxy." "We never abandoned it," Choi said. "We were just waiting." "I'm Commander Choi Yun of the United Earth Fleet. Who are you?" "I am Governor Ramey," the man said, "leader of this colony." He looked at Choi's advanced armor and weapons with wonder. "In our schools, they teach that humans might be just a legend. Many believe your kind went extinct." Choi smiled slightly. "We are very much alive, Governor, and we've come to take you to safety." More human soldiers arrived, helping the injured colonists. Medical teams set up treatment areas. Within hours, they had found most of the survivors. Back on the Thunderchild, Captain Han received reports from the surface. "Sir," said Yun Min, "Commander Choi reports they found approximately 6,000 survivors. Medical teams are treating the injured." "And the colony?" asked the captain. "Too damaged to save," Yun replied sadly. "The Vex bombardment destroyed most of the infrastructure." Captain Han nodded grimly. "Prepare to take all survivors aboard our ships. We'll need to find them a new home." Governor Ramey stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, looking out at the stars with Captain Han. "I never thought I would see humans in my lifetime," Ramey said. "When the Vex attacked us, we thought no one would come. The Galactic Council ignored our calls for help." "How long has the Vex Dominion been attacking colonies?" Captain Han asked. "They've grown powerful over the last 20 years, Ramey explained. "They take what they want, and no one stops them. The Council is too afraid to challenge them." Captain Han's face hardened. "That ends today. The galaxy needs to know that Earth has returned." He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare a broadcast on all frequencies. I want every system in this sector to hear it." The officer nodded. "Ready, sir." Captain Han stood tall. "This is Captain Hanji of the United Earth Fleet. We have returned. Attacks on innocent worlds will not be tolerated. To those who prey on the weak, be warned. Humanity stands against you." As the message went out across the stars, Yun Min looked at her captain with new understanding. "This isn't just a rescue mission, is it, sir?" she asked quietly. "No," Captain Han replied. "This is humanity's return to the galaxy. and things are about to change. Park Jun sat in a small cell at the Galactic Council outpost. The walls were plain white. There was just a bed and a small table. He had been here for 3 days, since Commander Ryu discovered he had sent the message to Earth. The door slid open. 2 guards entered, followed by Commander Ryu. "Officer Park," the commander said coldly, "you broke Council law by contacting Earth's restricted zone." Park looked up, and yet the humans came. They saved the colonists that the Council abandoned. Commander Ryu's face turned red with anger. "You have no idea what you've done. Captain Han's message has spread across every system in the sector. The Council is in chaos." A new person entered the cell. Park recognized her as Song Ji, the Council's security chief. She was small but had sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Commander Ryu," she said, "I need to speak with the prisoner alone." The commander left with the guards. Song Ji sat across from Park. "Your message to Earth has changed everything," she said. Park prepared for more blame, but Song Ji surprised him. "What you did was brave," she said quietly, "and perhaps necessary." She placed a small device on the table. It projected images of planets, all showing signs of attack. "These are worlds the Vex Dominion has attacked in the past year," Song Ji explained. "The Council knew but did nothing. Some Council members have been taking bribes from the Vex to look away." Park was shocked. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because humans are back, and things are about to change." She smiled slightly. "I've been collecting evidence against corrupt Council members for years. Now, with Earth's fleet here, there's finally a power strong enough to challenge the Vex." Across the galaxy, Captain Han's message was causing different reactions. In the Vex Dominion's headquarters, Supreme Commander Krell smashed his fist into a table. "Humans? They were supposed to be gone." He roared at his officers. "How did they defeat our ships so easily?" An intelligence officer stepped forward nervously. "Sir, early reports suggest their technology is far beyond anything we've seen. They must have been developing it in isolation all this time." Krell paced the room. "Gather the main fleet. We must crush these humans before others join them." At the Galactic Council's main chamber, emergency meetings were being held. Representatives from 100 worlds argued loudly. "The humans destroy our ancestors' fleets in the First Contact War," shouted one. "But they saved Proxima IV when we did nothing," countered another. "Can we trust them? Do we have a choice?" On the Thunderchild, Captain Han met with his officers and Governor Rami. They gathered around a large table showing a map of the sector. "The Vex will not let this stand," said Min. "Our intelligence suggests they are gathering their main fleet." Captain Han nodded. "Good. Let them come." Governor Rami looked worried. "Captain, the Vex fleet has over 300 ships, even with your advanced technology." "We came prepared, Governor," Captain Han assured him. "This isn't just a rescue mission. Earth has been watching the galaxy for 200 years. We knew someday we would need to return." He turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Earth. Tell Admiral Lee that Phase 1 is complete. Request permission to begin Phase 2. "What is Phase 2? Asked Rami. Captain Han's face was serious. "The Vex attacked innocent people. They need to learn there are consequences." Back at the Council outpost, Park was released from his cell. Song Ji handed him a message. "This just arrived from the main council," she said. "They're calling an emergency session. All outpost representatives must attend, including you." Park was confused. "Me? Why?" "Because you're the one who contacted Earth," she explained. "The council wants to hear directly from you." She lowered her voice. "And I need you there when I present my evidence about the Vex bribes." As Park prepared to leave for the council meeting, he watched new reports coming in. Human ships were appearing in other systems, protecting vulnerable worlds from Vex attacks. The message he had sent in desperation had done more than save one colony. It had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had returned to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Supreme Commander Krell stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Conqueror. Around him, 300 Vex warships gathered. It was the largest fleet the Dominion had ever assembled. "The humans have embarrassed us," Krell told his officers. "They think their technology makes them invincible, but they are few, and we are many." A tactical officer approached. "Sir, we have located the human fleet. They are protecting the Taurus system." Krell smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Perfect. We will crush them there and show the galaxy that the Vex Dominion fears no one, not even the legendary humans." On Earth, Admiral Lee Sung received Captain Han's message. He sat in the High Command Center with Kim Da and other military leaders. "The Vex are gathering their main fleet," Admiral Lee announced. "As we expected, Captain Han requests permission to begin Phase 2. General Park Min looked concerned. "The Vex fleet outnumbers ours 6-1. Even with our technology, those are difficult odds." Admiral Lee nodded. "That's why we won't fight them directly." He turned to a large screen showing a star system. "We will use Operation Ghost." Kim Da looked at the system map. "The gas giant in the Taurus system. You want to hide our ships inside it." "Exactly," said Admiral Lee. "Our ships can operate inside gas giants, thanks to our advanced shields. The Vex will enter the system, find no one there, and then we will strike from where they least expect it." The Admiral sent his approval to Captain Han. Begin Phase 2. On the Thunderchild, Yoon Min worked with her tactical team to prepare for the coming battle. "All ships report ready, Captain," she told Han-ji. "The gas giant's atmosphere is dense, but our shields can handle it." Captain Han nodded. "Move the fleet into position. Send out false signals to make the Vex think we're still in orbit around Taurus IV." The human fleet moved into the swirling storms of the gas giant. Their advanced shields protected them from the crushing pressure and extreme temperatures. They waited, hidden from sensors. 2 days later, the Vex fleet arrived in the system. "No human ships detected in orbit," reported a Vex officer to Commander Krell. "But we're picking up signals from the 4th planet." Krell laughed. "They're hiding on the surface. Spread the fleet out. Prepare to bombard the planet." The Vex ships spread into a wide formation around Taurus IV. None of them paid attention to the gas giant nearby. Aboard the Thunderchild, Yoon Min watched her screens carefully. "The Vex fleet has taken the bait," she reported. "They're in perfect position for our attack plan." Captain Han stood. "All ships, prepare to execute maneuver Split Sky." The human fleet rose from the gas giant, hidden by its storms until the last moment. They emerged in a perfect formation, dividing the Vex fleet into 3 separate groups. "Fire," ordered Captain Han. The human ships fired their weapons. Blue beams of energy cut through space, hitting Vex ships with incredible precision. Within minutes, 50 Vex ships had lost their engines and weapons. "What's happening?" Krell shouted as his bridge shook. "Where did they come from?" "The gas giant, sir," his tactical officer cried. "They were hiding inside it." Krell couldn't believe it. "That's impossible. No ship can survive inside a gas giant." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination. Yoon Min's attack plan split the Vex forces, preventing them from supporting each other. The humans targeted engines and weapons, disabling ships without destroying them. "Sir," Yoon reported to Captain Han, 120 Vex ships have been disabled. The rest are trying to regroup." Captain Han nodded. "Send the message." All Vex ships received the same transmission. "This is Captain Han-ji of the United Earth Fleet. Your ships have been disabled, not destroyed. We have no desire for unnecessary death. Surrender now, and we guarantee the safety of your crews." On the Conqueror, Krell watched in horror as his fleet fell apart. Over half his ships were disabled. The others were being picked off one by one. "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "perhaps we should consider their offer." "Never," Krell shouted. "The Vex Dominion does not surrender." But as more ships fell silent around him, Krell realized he had no choice. For the first time in the Dominion's history, a Vex commander gave the order to surrender. Across the galaxy, the news spread quickly. The mighty Vex fleet had been defeated by a handful of human ships. The sleeping giant was fully awake, and it was more powerful than anyone had imagined. Captain Hanjui stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, watching as his fleet secured another world that had been under Vex attack. In the 2 weeks since the battle at Taurus, human ships had freed 5 more colonies from Vex control. "Sir," called Yun Min from her station, "we found something strange on the Vex command ship we captured." Captain Han walked to her screen. "What is it?" The Vex were transporting research materials from an abandoned outpost. An old human outpost. Han's face grew serious. "Download everything. I want Chief Engineer Kang Hyun to examine it immediately." In the ship's engineering lab, Kang Hyun worked through the night. He was older than most of the crew, with gray in his hair. As chief engineer, he understood technology better than anyone else aboard. When Captain Han arrived the next morning, Kang looked worried. "Captain, you need to see this," he said, pointing to a screen filled with complex diagrams. "The Vex found one of our old research stations, one that was abandoned during the First Contact War." "What were they looking for?" Han asked. Kang pointed to a specific section of data. "They found information about Project Nova." Captain Han went very still. Every senior officer knew about Project Nova. It was the weapon that had ended the First Contact War. The reason humanity had retreated from the galaxy. "They couldn't have built it," Han said. "The plans were incomplete. We made sure of that." "They were trying," Kang replied. "Look at these tests they were running. They'd been experimenting for years, trying to recreate the technology." Captain Han turned to the communications officer. "Send an encrypted message to Admiral Lee. Priority 1. On Earth." Admiral Lee read the message with growing concern. He called an emergency meeting of the High Command. "The Vex Dominion has been trying to recreate our Nova technology," he told the assembled leaders. "If they had succeeded, they could have built a weapon capable of destroying entire planets." General Park Min looked shocked. "That's why we left the galaxy in the first place, to make sure no one would ever use that power again. And now we have a difficult choice," said Admiral Lee. "Do we tell the Galactic Council what the Vex were trying to do? If we do, we reveal our own dark past." Kim Da, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "We need to be honest. The galaxy needs to know what kind of threat the Vex pose." "But they will also learn what humans are capable of," argued another leader. "They already fear us. This will make it worse." Admiral Lee nodded slowly. "This is why I called all of you. We must decide together." Meanwhile, at the Galactic Council headquarters, Park Jum stood before hundreds of representatives from different worlds. Song Jai had just presented her evidence of Vex bribes to council members. The chamber was in chaos. Some council members shouted in anger. Others tried to defend themselves. Park waited for the noise to die down. "I sent the message to Earth because I believed it was right," he finally said. "I believed someone should stand up to the Vex. And I was right. Humans returned, and they saved not just one colony, but many." A council member stood up. "How do we know these humans won't become just like the Vex? They have incredible power. What stops them from using it against us?" Before Park could answer, the chamber doors opened. A human delegation entered, led by Captain Han and Chief Engineer Kang. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Captain Han said, "we come with disturbing news. The Vex Dominion has been trying to develop a terrible weapon, one that could destroy entire worlds." He nodded to Kang, who showed the evidence they had found. The council members watched in shock as they saw the Vex plans. "What kind of weapon is this?" asked the council leader. Captain Han took a deep breath. "It is based on technology that humans developed long ago, during the First Contact War. Technology we abandoned because it was too dangerous. A hush fell over the chamber. Everyone knew the stories of how the first contact war had ended, with entire fleets suddenly disappearing. "We left the galaxy to ensure this weapon would never be used again," Han continued. "And now we return to find the Vex trying to recreate it." The council members looked at each other in fear and confusion. The humans had a power that could destroy worlds, yet they had chosen not to use it. Instead, they had hidden themselves away. Park Jun suddenly understood why humanity had disappeared from the galaxy. Not out of fear, but out of responsibility. Park Jun walked out of the detention area, a free man at last. The council had dropped all charges against him. Now he was considered a hero by many for contacting Earth. Song-ji met him in the hallway. "The council is in its third day of debate," she told him. "Captain Han's revelation about the Nova weapon has changed everything." Park nodded. "Some fear the humans. Others want their protection. No one knows what to think." "The humans have asked for you," Song said. "Their diplomatic team wants to meet with you." Park was surprised. "Me? Why?" "You started all this," she reminded him with a small smile. "You woke the sleeping giant." In a large meeting room, Park met Baz-Su, the leader of Earth's diplomatic team. She was tall with kind eyes, but Park could see she was also strong. "Officer Park," she said, "your courage brought us back to the galaxy. Now we need your help to build trust with the council." Before Park could answer, alarms sounded throughout the station. Song-ji rushed into the room. "The Vex," she cried. "A fleet has just jumped into Earth's system. They're attacking Earth directly." Park was shocked. But how? Earth's location has been restricted for centuries. Supreme Commander Krell escaped during the battle at Taurus, Baz-Su explained. "He must have found Earth's coordinates in his ship's database." On Earth, Admiral Lee watched calmly as 50 Vex ships approached the planet. The Vex had managed to gather their remaining forces for one desperate attack. "They think they can threaten our homeworld," he said to Kim Da. "They don't understand what they're facing." Earth's defense system activated. Massive weapons platforms that had been hidden around the planet and moon revealed themselves. Thousands of automated drones launched from bases on Mars and Jupiter's moons. When the Vex ships fired their weapons at Earth, they hit shields far stronger than anything they had seen before. Then Earth's defenses fired back. Within minutes, half the Vex fleet was disabled. The rest tried to retreat, but it was too late. Earth's defense system locked onto every ship. "Capture their command ship," ordered Admiral Lee. "I want Krell alive." At the council station, everyone watched the battle through long-range sensors. They saw how easily Earth defended itself, how complete its victory was. "The humans could have conquered the galaxy any time they wanted," whispered a council member. "Yet they stayed hidden all these years." In the emergency council session that followed, representatives from worlds that had been attacked by the Vex spoke one after another. Governor Rami was among them. "The Vex destroyed my colony," he told the council. "They would have killed everyone if the humans hadn't come. We need their protection." Captain Han and Baz-Su presented Earth's proposal, a formal alliance between Earth and the Galactic Council. Humans would help protect vulnerable worlds in exchange for peaceful relations. "We did not return to conquer," Baz-Su explained. "We returned because someone asked for help." She nodded toward Park Jun. "We remembered that we are part of this galaxy, with responsibilities to others." The council voted. After centuries of isolation, Earth was officially welcomed back into galactic affairs. Later that day, Park sat with Baz-Su and Song-ji, watching ships come and go from the station. "Supreme Commander Krell has been captured," Baz-Su told them. "The Vex Dominion leadership is in chaos. They've requested peace talks." "What happens now?" Park asked. "Earth will establish permanent bases in Council space," Baz-Su explained. "Captain Han will lead a new joint security force with ships from Earth and the Council." She turned to Park. "And we need people who understand both Earth and the Council. People like you." Park was surprised. Me? You'll be one of our liaison officers, she said, along with Tactical Officer Yoon Min from the Thunderchild. You'll help build bridges between worlds that have been separate for too long. That night, Park looked out at the stars. 3 weeks ago, he had been a simple communications officer who broke the rules to send a message. Now he was helping reshape the galaxy. The sleeping human war machine had awakened, but instead of bringing destruction, it had brought protection. Instead of conquest, it offered alliance, and Park had helped make it happen. 6 months had passed since the Vex attack on Earth. Admiral Lee Sung stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station, orbiting a neutral world between Earth and Council space. Below him, ships from a dozen different worlds moved in careful patterns, training together. "It's quite a sight," said Kim Da, who had joined him. "Human ships flying alongside alien vessels, something I never thought I'd see in my lifetime." Admiral Lee nodded. "Change comes whether we're ready or not." Thankfully, we were ready. Captain Han Ji, now promoted to fleet commander, entered the room with a data tablet. "Sir, the latest reports from the border patrols. All quiet. The Vex are honoring the peace treaty." After their defeat, the Vex Dominion had fallen into civil war. The moderate faction had eventually taken control and signed a peace agreement with Earth and the Council. Supreme Commander Krell and his supporters were imprisoned for war crimes. "And what about our new crews?" asked the Admiral. Han smiled slightly. "The joint human-alien teams are working well. There have been cultural adjustments, but nothing serious." On the main training vessel, Park Jun watched as Yoon Min taught a group of council officers about human tactical systems. The room was filled with beings from many different worlds, all paying close attention. "Human jump technology gives us a significant advantage," Yoon explained. "But it requires precise calculations. One small error could send a ship into a star or planet." A young council officer raised her hand. "Is it true that humans developed this technology during your isolation?" Yoon nodded. "Yes. When we left Galactic Affairs, we focused on advancing our technology. Not just for war, but for exploration and science as well." Park smiled as he watched. 6 months ago, most of these beings had never seen a human. Some had believed humans were just legends. Now they were learning from them, working with them. His communication device beeped. Governor Ramy was calling from New Proxima, the colony that had been built for the survivors of the Vex attack. "Park. Good news," Ramy said when Park answered. "The first harvests were successful. The colony will be self-sufficient within a year." "That's excellent," Park replied. "I'll tell Captain Han. He'll be pleased." Throughout Council space, similar scenes were playing out. Human engineers helped rebuild damaged worlds. Human doctors shared medical knowledge with alien healers. Human scientists worked with alien researchers on new discoveries. In the Council chamber, Ba Su presented the final treaty for the new alliance. Song Ji, now promoted to Council Security Director, stood beside her. "With this agreement, we formalized the Joint Protection Force," Ba Su explained. "Each world will contribute according to their abilities. Earth will share defense technology, but not weapons of mass destruction." The Council representatives voted unanimously to approve the treaty. 2 centuries of human isolation had officially ended. Later that day, Admiral Lee met with the key people who had made it all possible: Captain Han, Park Jun, Yoon Min, Ba Su, and Song Ji. "You should all be proud," he told them. "What began as a desperate call for help has transformed the galaxy." Park looked around the table. "I still can't believe it sometimes. I just sent a message. I never expected all of this." Admiral Lee smiled. "Sometimes the smallest actions have the greatest consequences." He poured drinks for everyone. A toast to a new era of cooperation. As they raised their glasses, Park thought about how it had all started. A colony under attack, a council unwilling to help, a forbidden message sent in desperation, and now a peaceful galaxy protected by the combined strength of many worlds, with humanity's war machine serving as its shield rather than its sword. On a view screen in the room, a new class of cadets was graduating from the Joint Training Academy. Humans stood side by side with beings from a dozen different worlds. They would crew the new ships being built for exploration rather than war. The sleeping giant had awakened, not to conquer, but to protect. Not to destroy, but to build. As Admiral Lee looked out at the stars, he spoke softly, almost to himself. This is why we waited. This is why we built our strength in secret. Not for conquest, but for the day when we could return and make things right. The SOS that woke the sleeping human war machine had done more than save a single colony. It had created a new future for the entire galaxy.